So why don't we go ahead just for a second, and they're going to both talk some more about specifics, but while we're at this point, if there's any questions in the audience, we'll get a little Q&A going. You want to no, you were just saying hi. Jim?
I'm just curious. I'm not real big on the telephone aspect of what you're talking about. When you're saying you're changing content from PC to mobile web, I think you call it, are you doing a lot more bullet points, or what are you actually changing, I guess is the question.
Well, I guess it really is about the mindset of the user. A mobile user generally wants to find the information he or she is looking for quickly and easily. They want to do it with as few clicks as possible. They don't want to have to navigate in a way that isn't natural to the phone they're using. One case in point might be one of our target audiences, say a teenager looking for information on a concert tour that we're sponsoring during the summer. So the first thing that should tell you is that he or she is probably going to start in a search experience. Just like they do online, 80% of online experiences, it's estimated in the US, start with a search. It starts with Google, it starts with Yahoo, it starts with Bing. We have to make sure that our mobile sites are discoverable by that consumer, number one. Number two, when that consumer comes to that site, he just wants to find out when the concert tour is going to be in town. If it takes him 5 or 6 clicks and he's having to, navigate his way through a lot of different complicated graphics, it's not going to be a satisfying experience. So the easiest way to answer your question is the biggest difference between a traditional website and a mobile website is the real estate is much smaller and the mindset of the user is much more focused on action. They want to find the information they're looking for with as few clicks as possible.
Yes, sir. Peter?
Quick question regarding that. I find that when I'm used to a regular website and the mobile website, it doesn't have the information that I want, that I'm looking for on the full website. So I find myself trying to find the full website when I'm used to the website that I'm looking at on the mobile device. And so there's kind of different target audiences between those two. People who are familiar with the site that they want to go to and those that aren't. And that may be different. So I don't know if there are ideas how to reconcile that.
Well, as a best practice, one of the things we've recommended internally is that the user always have the option to go to the full site no matter how they came in. Whether they're using an iPad or a mobile phone, you always want to allow the user to get access to the full site if that's what you're used to. But what you're speaking to is really achieving that balance between what should be in mobile and what shouldn't be. And that bar, because of devices like tablets, is changing as we speak. Because consumers are increasingly picking up the tablet first. And so the expectation of an average consumer 2 years ago, when the iPad didn't exist, was radically different from the consumer that has an iPad today. So the challenge facing anybody who has a website is, how do I morph that experience? How do I adapt to the mobile user? So there's a sort of debate raging in the web standards community that suggests that maybe it's best just to make everything on the web mobile friendly, meaning it doesn't take a long time to download, there's not a lot of heavy flash animation and the like, so that they know every one of their consumers can access the site. So the challenge you're speaking to is exactly what faces anybody who runs a website right now, and that will continue to go on for years. I mean, imagine when you get a refrigerator that has a flat panel on it, that is a touch screen, that has a web experience on it. Well, that web experience might show your kid's soccer calendar or your schedule for church, as an example. Totally different user experience sitting in front of the fridge trying to figure out what to do for the day than what you might want on the phone you're carrying with you now.
So I'm going to move things just a minute toward, we all in this room represent and deal with companies that are emerging. And whether it's three guys at Waffle House that have great success, or some of the companies in this room, Steve and I were talking earlier about his approach as an advisor and a consultant in bringing technology into the applications of the growth of businesses, and I think that might be an interesting next step.
Let's start with personalizing technology for you, and then let's take that one step over to how you can look through the eyes of a business that may be wanting to raise money or access capital. And the easiest way to think about technology is start with ourselves and say, okay, I'm the sum of the people that I've met and the experiences that I've had over time, and I'd like to be able to organize those touch points that I've had in a way that I can access who I need to talk to when I need to talk to them, so that I'm more focused and able to be more effective. So the first thing that we do is say, okay, let's take the contacts, the people, the relationships that we have and organize them in a functional way where we can do things such as text messaging, such as email communication, video conferencing, whatever it might be. So the first thing we do is take our contact base and say, let me make it functional. Lots of different programs you can find to use that. The second is, okay, now knowing the space that I'm in, how do I access those similar people in my community, in my country, around the world? So we want to go into those similar places and vastly expand those people who we could touch if we could get to them. Another would be to say, okay, if I could find and communicate with the perfect investor, the perfect capital base, the perfect group of evolving companies, where would I go to find them? And that's now very doable. So from one phone, one tablet, one PC, you can virtually communicate with anybody in your common interest space around the world as often as you want. But you have to know how to do that. So information is accessible, virtually unlimited information. Organized, organizing who and how you get in touch with them is available. Portals into these groups, these activity centers are available so that you can get access to them, whether it's angel groups, locally, nationally, worldwide, whether it's broker-dealer networks, whether it's private equity groups, specialized private equity groups, specialized, all of it is available. You just have to know how to access it. So coming up with a plan to then brand yourself or be effectively communicating with these groups. Three ways we do it in the firm. We have a weekly radio show, we put on live seminars, we do webinars, and we do small videos that we distribute through YouTube. So there are many, many simple, cheap ways of communicating with millions of people if they have an interest in the content that you're providing. So it's a game changer for us as professionals, for you as professionals, in who you can access, how you access them, and what information you can share with them. Now, in your world, I'm very familiar with a lot of the securities issues and the legal boundaries that you have to operate within. But even in that world, there are ways to have a vast audience that's just anxious to hear the next thing that you have to share with them, if you understand how to programmatically go about that. Now, from a technology in business, we're seeing all kind of business plans show up that would never have been possible without the web, without bandwidth, and without the access of unlimited information. And just a quick one, in healthcare, we're looking at two different companies. One that has developed a database where basically you can price medical services, and the medical services can offer their their goods and services through the web, where it takes the mystery out of, are you indigent and get it for free? Are you a Medicare patient and get it for X? Are you a Medicaid patient and get it for less? Are you a PPO, HMO? Are you walking in off the street totally unrepresented? Medical pricing is the most obscure thing possible, and this company's basically drilled down to a database where the net negotiated price that occurs in the marketplace every day is what you can access. Then you can look at the effectiveness of those medical providers in terms of serving various protocols or chronic illnesses, acute services. So they're creating transparency in a very non-transparent world. Now you take that and say, okay, this helps me in managing my HSA account or my company's deductible. I may have a $2 million deductible in my medical plan over which I've got medical stop-loss coverage. So I care where my employees go and how they get the best services at the best price. But it extends worldwide, because there's now a process called medical tourism, and different states and companies are now finding providers in medical centers of excellence all over the world. And I'll give you a real good example, one I'm personally familiar with. One of my clients' employees needed a hip replacement, and the basically all-in cost at a local hospital was about $40,000, of which the company was going to have to pay around $10,000. There is a medical center of excellence in Bangkok which charges $4,000, including round-trip airfare. And they have better equipment and better trained physicians doing more of these procedures than any facility within the Southeast. So that kind of disparity, that kind of inefficiency in the marketplace is accessed by technology.